Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video where I show off my PNG tuber self, and fortunately, in a better light than the other video. While that video was definitely serious, I want to move past it as well as move on to stuff that I'll actually have enthusiasm talking about. Today's a special video as well because it's celebrating 1.5k, 2k, and 2.5k subs. And to be honest, I was a bit shook by how fast I was growing. I was actually traveling to Washington, D.C. for my internship because I was speaking there, and you can guess how flabbergasted I was when I saw the growth on the channel. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, everyone. In fact, what's kind of actually funny is that I'll probably also be in DC once again while this video is airing. So I definitely feel blessed to be in the position I am in now. You all honestly mean so much to me. So I figured I would share a piece of the Red Knight 777 history, or I guess you could say, that meant a lot to me that would ultimately drive my love for gaming to new heights. I am here to introduce you to Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes.
Capcom presents Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom.
So this was kind of a bit cheesy thinking about how to make this video, but I was honestly wondering what exactly can I do to celebrate this milestone of mine. So of course, since there are like no original thoughts going on in this head, I asked my mom what she thought would be a good milestone to do. She told me to think of games or consoles that I played on in the early 2000s, since I am in the 2000s range of subscribers. Well, what do you know? This was around the time that the PlayStation 2 came out, and by extension, the PlayStation 1 already was out for some time now in North America. I know, call me old. But I really was influenced by these consoles back in the day, as these used to be the consoles I'd come home to at the end of the day. Despite being good in school, I honestly wasn't always a big fan of it. It was just boring sometimes, and I felt unstimulated except when I was around friends. So little Jordan used to like to come home after a long day of school, take his shoes off, and play in his saucer chair in front of his TV, and would love to relax and just vibe with his PlayStation 2.
Put those grippers away!
I should definitely emphasize that for the longest time, I really only had a PlayStation to play with. Sure, eventually I got a DS, Wii, and yes, even the PS Vita, and more as I grew a bit older. But for the longest time, the PlayStation 1 and 2 were my go-to consoles for a lot of games. It's where my passion of games truly began, and without them, I probably wouldn't have developed the love for games that I do today. At this point, you're probably wondering, what exactly is Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes? Well, of course, for one, it's a mouthful to say at the very least. Second of all, I should also put a sensory warning out there because, as most games did back in the day, they were very flashy and probably put a lot of kids into seizures as well as epilepsy. Yeah, we've definitely come a long way for accessibility, that's for sure, folks. Anywho, we'll just refer to this as Marvel vs. Capcom 1 for now. It was first released in Japanese and North American arcades in 1998, which was super old, am I right?
Rich, you're coming from you when your birthday was literally 1999.
Okay, no one asked you for your opinion, Spidey. Anyways, y'all have to understand how big this was back in the day. Because back then, we really didn't have many crossover fighting games of this magnitude. I feel like right now I kind of sound like what those memes would talk about, like our parents would. They'd be like, oh yes, back in my day, I used to travel through the frigid snow of 20 feet and above while also you know, crossing through Satan's hellfiery pit of darkness and chaos to get to school. And you kids definitely have it easier now. You know, I kind of feel like I'm sounding like that a bit. But anywho, I do want y'all to realize just how big this was. Because sure, we did have other games like Marvel Super Heroes versus Street Fighter just a little bit before. But this was essentially the smash of fighting games when Marvel vs. Capcom 1 released. Because so many new characters were here. Looking at the roster, it obviously isn't the most impressive now, sure, but it was when all the characters were actually put into the game from the get-go, and there were secret characters that you could get with special inputs. I remember I would buy gaming guidebooks just to help me with cheat codes and finding secrets in games, and this was one of them, as you can unlock characters like Roll and even Onslaught, who is the main boss of the game at the time. This game was your standard fighting 2D game that featured tag team based mechanics, as you were able to pick 2 fighters and a support character you could use and basically just beat the crap out of each other until both fighters were KO'd. Of course, if the big old timer in the top ran out, the player with the most health was the winner. I'm just saying, y'all, seeing 2 ultra attacks being performed at the same time with a big hyper combo finish in the middle of the screen gave me quite a serotonin boost for little me. For the PS2 version, apparently I kind of got the short end of the stick here. I honestly didn't even know until now when I was researching this and saw what the official arcade version and the Sega Dreamcast version look like. Curse you, Sony! I could have even gotten a better experience. Of course, always like Sony to chip us players somehow, some way. Anyways, in this version of the game, you could choose the main arcade versus mode to go against your friends, crossover mode, which meant you had to have the same team and were able to switch out your characters at will, training to test out your combos and moves, gallery to view, well, the gallery, to see illustrations, endings of characters you've unlocked, and unique character animations, and of course options, just to name it for the sake of naming everything else on here. Honestly, of course, I am not truly mad at Sony. This happened to actually just be a PlayStation 2 hardware limit, so while I can't really fully blame them, I still am gonna blame them, because I guess it's just human nature to blame everyone and everything else for your problems and not truly yourself at the end of the day, ain't it? Well, now that I've kind of talked about the background of the game, let's talk about what Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes actually meant to me growing up. Now that I've talked about the background of the game, let's talk about what Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes actually meant to me growing up. So this game is essentially what got my gaming addiction, my love for gaming started here. Just look at my YouTube banner and you'll see Onslaught being featured up there, and you'll see just how much I love this game. This game honestly got me through some rough patches in my life, and it's where I felt like I could actually be a kid. My go-tos were always characters like Venom, War Machine, and Morgan for obvious lore purposes, of course.
Hello theorists and welcome to Game Theory. So basically what Red Knight 777 is saying here is that the lore here is actually Morgan's massively big wiki page, of course. Yay, we'll go with that.
Okay, in my defense, yeah, this isn't really helping my case. But this game was a blast and a great introduction to gaming for me. It was simple, mindless violence that I could relax to, which I'm pretty sure that's a bit of an oxymoron, but that's okay. It was one of those games that you had to truly experience for yourself to understand it back in the day. Obviously, it looks super dated now, but this game built the foundation for many fighting games and even was a huge inspiration for other projects like Mugen, which is also kind of getting outdated. Well, I really am just getting old, folks. I think that's why I look back on this game so fondly, because it reminds me of a time where I wasn't worried about my future. I was just worried about how fast I could button mash my controller and beat up the enemies with high combos. It introduced me to more Marvel characters and to the world of Capcom and what they had to offer. Fun fact, as a YouTube comment pointed out to me, the voice of Ada Wong from Resident Evil is actually the game's announcer, which y'all already know how much I love the Resident Evil series.
With the ceremony.
And she's so strong!
Pay for what he's done.
Ooh, how hard are you gonna make me pay? I mean, come on, make me pay over here. Stop tempting me. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll calm down. Anyways, man, I've just always been a simp for dominant fictional women, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, y'all see why I love this game so much and why it means a lot to me. This was just a super weird game that had a spark to it because of how over the top everything was in it. And it was also weird for different reasons too, because why on earth did we ever fight in the bathhouse to begin with? You can literally see this dude's butt crack over here as he's washing it off, and then you can send your opponent flying to the next area where it was the woman's bathhouse. These games always had a sense of perviness to them, I swear, if Morgan already wasn't a major hint towards that.
Hyper combo finish! KO! Morgan, win!
Now, I'm not even going to stand here and say that this was the most revolutionary fighting game ever, since game series like Mortal Kombat and Tekken were already making huge waves throughout the industry. But I go as far as to say that it did influence future tag team fighting games, like Fighter Z potentially. Looking at how Fighter Z operates versus how Marvel vs. Capcom 1 operates, it's not hard to see some similarities here with how the pacing of the fights go and how the characters transition from one to another. I'd wager that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was definitely more influential in its own right, but with Clash of Super Heroes being the OG here, we have to give credit where credit is due. Plus, I also never played the second one, sadly, so please don't come for me. But it did actually look really fun, and I hope to play it one of these days. So yeah, I feel like this video is going to be rather short, but the gameplay isn't much longer, folks. In fact, probably by the time I'm done with this video, you would have already completed arcade mode with at least one character. So yeah, the game wasn't long at all. This was not a long trek for people to take. The most you would do was try and unlock characters' endings and see what was going to happen to them post defeating Onslaught. So that meant you'd have to be decent with all of the characters if you wanted to see that, but honestly, that was about it. That's really all you would do in this game. But again, you have to remember when this game came out, and to remember that this was originally made for an arcade. So something like this was pretty revolutionary for its time. Like I said, a lot of this game's appeal was that it was simple and it was just meant to sink some hours into it right before bedtime or to just relax for a couple of hours. Sure, you may think that this game doesn't have much to offer now, but it certainly had a lot to offer back then, and it quite frankly had a lot to offer to me as I was growing up. It's a game that I'd like to one day showcase on the channel when I'm able to, so I could show y'all just what it means to me. And even though I rather suck at fighting games, I think I at least develop a love for them through this game. Regardless, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Super Heroes is and will always be something that's nostalgic to me, and I'm happy that I got to experience it and share it with all of you. At the end of the day, I really do appreciate you all, and this was my way of showing it as I gave y'all a glimpse into my childhood. I appreciate you all watching this video, and I'd love to also hear what games make y'all nostalgic and why. Thank you to all the new and old subscribers, and I can't wait to keep making more content for y'all. Peace out, everybody. God bless. All the good stuff, as I always say. Take care. Bye, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching.